Hi, I'm Jake.
And I'm Blake.
And I'm Mark. Modes, tenors, semiotic systems, discourse, registers, social practice, and situated practice. What does it all mean? In this short video production, we're going to take these terms and give you some definitions and examples of how they're used in everyday text. So nurse, could you please chart that there's treatment required on the 2-7 tooth? There are secondary carriers underneath the existing MO, restoration, which is confirmed also on the bite wing. Could you also please note that they have a periapical abscess on the 4-5 tooth, and also it has draining abscess on the buccal surface, and we will require endodontic treatment. So Blake, after looking at your teeth today, I can see that you need a filling, and the upper back tooth that's right up the very back. And the other problem is at the lower right side, where you've been feeling that little bump on your gum, yeah, there's an infection there, so you're going to need root canal treatment, yeah? So it might blow up one day, and then you're going to have a bad toothache. So what we'll do is I'll just get in there right. Here's your problem. The general discourse surrounding this example is that dentists are very bad people. If you're standing in a group and you mention a dental procedure, I can guarantee someone will say, "Oh, I hate dentists," even though that person doesn't actually know that dentist at all. Now within the register, the field, which is what is actually going on in the context, in the first example when I was talking to the nurse, that was highly technical, and the tenor, which is the interpersonal aspect of the situational context, was very formal. Now in the second example, when I was talking to Blake, the patient, the field was more everyday, leaning towards specialised, and the tenor was much more informal. This is also an example of a situated practice where the text needs to be altered depending on who we're talking to.
The art gallery is a great example we can use to show what literacy practice and purpose means. Literacy practice basically means the practice of literacies, which is the process of deciphering text. This can be broken down into 4 categories: reading, producing, listening, and talking. This is shown in the art gallery by the attendees having to read the plaques which describe the artwork, analyse what the artist's message is, talk to fellow patrons about what the message is, and listening to an audio guide to help you around the gallery. The other literacy practice is produce. This can be done by the artist who's creating his artwork. This is leading to a purpose, which is the outcome of the text. For example, the purpose of a particular piece of art could be to evoke an emotion from the viewer, to make the viewer think of a different point of view, or to make a bold statement. Using this sculpture as an example of these combined, by the literacy practice of reading the plaque attached to the piece of art, we can see that the purpose of this piece is to evoke an emotion of disgust and confusion from within the viewer, and to make the viewer question why nature is the way it is.
In the process of watching and comparing the 6 o'clock Channel 7 news report and the 6:30 SBS World News Australia, it can be seen that there were slight differences in the tenor of the language that they both used. The Channel 7 news report was more informal, as it tried to convey emotion in the audience with stories it reported on by using terms such as tragically and saddening when reporting on a fatal car accident. It is also informal tenor, as the television station would take statistics on their audience so that they could target the language accordingly. Although both of these elements of tenor are informal, the status of experience is very formal, as the newsreader and the team supporting them have had many years' experience in writing and producing news reports. This is in contrast to the SBS report, which was more between the neutral and formal end of the scale. This was because the presenter gave the facts to its audience and let them decide how they wanted to feel about the story, rather than trying to create an emotion for the audience. Although the emotional factor is different to Channel 7, the audience is the same and would be familiar because SBS, like Channel 7, would have done surveys or a statistical analysis on their audience. This is the same when looking at the experience of the news team and how professional and expert they are in reporting and producing their stories. Tenor can be used in various ways within the language that not only television reporters use but also the general public use to communicate with each other.
Here we are at the Mortlock wing of the South Australian Library. This building here contains tens of thousands of books, and we're going to look at one and try and examine it. This is Just Disgusting, which is a book by Andy Griffiths. It's a fiction book which is aimed at 9 to 12-year-olds. The form of text it incorporates is on paper, but however there are also other forms of text such as digital, which would be an e-reader, or live text, which would be reading this book out loud. Now, the act of reading this book is a social practice, because reading it, I'm getting into the author's head and he, so to speak, is getting into my head. But if I was reading it out loud to a group of children, I might have to read it differently. Therefore, a situated practice might come into effect. Boom, boom.
When I was attending Comic-Con at the end of March, I thought there would be a perfect example to explain and help what semiotic systems are and what multimodal means. Semiotic systems are the group of 5 systems used to make meanings from signs and symbols. The systems that help create the meanings are linguistic, visual, gestural, oral, and spatial. Let me give you some examples. Comic-Con is a big example that's held over 2 days and is based around TV shows, movies, fan art, comic books, and video games. The most present semiotic system at Comic-Con would be the visual system. This system used aspects of still and moving images to create meaning. A prime example of this would be all the artwork by fans of a particular TV show or film, or aspiring comic book writers who are looking to expand their audiences. The artwork was everywhere. Another semiotic system that was present was linguistic. This system uses aspects of oral and written language to create meaning. This is present at Comic-Con with all the conversations that were taking place about the niche subjects with a specific wording, often about a TV show or a film. The next semiotic system that was present was gestural. The gestural semiotic system is a system that uses facial expressions and body language to create meanings. This was shown by all the people who dress up as their favourite character. They often mimic this character in every way. The faces of the other patrons also showed this semiotic system, as they were always smiling or had happy expressions, so you could tell that they were enjoying this event. To create meaning, the oral semiotic system uses music and sound. This was made present by the loud announcements that told the patrons about certain events that were happening during the day. Another way this was present was through all the different noises you could hear there, whether it was people talking, people playing games, people selling merchandise, or people squealing with excitement because they met their favourite star. You could tell that there was a very happy place to be. The last semiotic system is spatial. This is the layout and organisation of objects in space to create meaning. This was present by the pavilion, by how the pavilion we were in was laid out. All of the merchandising stalls together, all of the fan art was together, and a big open area which was eventually full of people standing in line to meet their favourite actor or actress. Another way it was present was by how each stall was set up their merchandise or artwork differently to make it more appealing. Now that all the semiotic systems have been covered, explaining what multimodal means becomes a whole lot easier. Multimodal is the term given by the text used more than one semiotic system to create meaning. This is why Comic-Con was the ideal choice to help explain what the semiotic systems are and what multimodal means.
The tools of literacy are all around us. A good example that shows all of these tools is the Clipsal 500 Adelaide. The event is the first round of the V8 Supercar Championship that is supported by other categories of racing and also off-track events and activities such as merchandise tents, the paddock, fun areas, carnival rides and post-race concerts. Clipsal 500 is a live event that the public can attend, but it is also broadcast on television and the internet. This makes it both a live and digital text type. In relation to the semiotics that are used, it is evident that all 5 systems are within the Clipsal 500. Some examples of these are the linguistic system, which is the commentators talking during the race, visual, as the audience is watching the cars around the track, whether on television or at the track, spatial, as the layout of the track depends on the needs of the drivers and their teams and also the public's needs, and also oral, as the commentators make reference to the noise of the cars and the music is heard in between races and at the concerts. As 2 or more semiotic systems are used, it is clear that the Clipsal 500 is a multimodal event.
Within the register of language, field, tenor and mode are all important aspects to create a language experience relevant to the context. As we have heard before, the field is the topic within the context and how simple or technical the language is. With respect to the Clipsal 500, the language used by the commentators is specialised, as they are talking generally about car parts such as the diff housing and the anti-roll bars. These words, although confusing to some people, are not the most technical words and can be easily understood with some simple research or explanation. The tenor of this situation is between informal and neutral. It can be seen that it is slightly emotional because of the excitement and disappointment involved with the events of the race. The audience is varied, but are mainly people who follow the V8 Supercar Championship or a form of racing, and the expertise level is kept around the novice area so that people of all ages and experience levels can understand what the commentators are trying to say. Mode is the language channel of the situation. This is either spoken or written. The Clipsal 500 is very much based around spoken, as the commentators are constantly talking about racing and events based around the racing, and there are very few written words. The Clipsal 500 is classed as a social practice, as it involves other people in conversation and to provide entertainment for the event. It is also a tradition for some people, as they have been coming to the Clipsal 500 since it started. Depending on who you were talking to, the Clipsal 500 could be a situated practice, as it involves different levels of language between various people, such as one of the race drivers will not talk to a 7-year-old fan the same way as they would talk to their race crew that deals with the mechanical issues. The literacy practices involved in this situation are listening and watching or reading, and the purpose of the text is to entertain the crowd or the fans of the sport.
In conclusion, you can see that language and multiliteracies are present all around us. I hope this helps you gain a better understanding of it.